My name is Siri again. I told you today we have a very unique feature of the Imperative magazine. I mean, we had arts, we now have a second leading thought. And how do we not have Ayanda Boroto as a leading thought, right? Because she is like a pillar on her own, right? And I had the pleasure of sitting in on her conversation on Drumfest event, which is took place now.
Yeah.
A very beautiful event. And listen, right? Let me put a disclaimer, right? I know you from Isibaya.
Yeah.
Okay? Very
Humble,
submissive somebody. And then you get on stage. I'm like, hey,
what just happened?
Like, so nobody warned me, okay?
Yeah, I get that all the time.
So I had to collect myself along the way, and I'm like, So the people who did not have the pleasure of having this experience that I had, who is Ayanda Boroto?
I always describe myself when I'm asked who I am as, I'll say this is and then I'll translate it. Ukanya nothando ngihlakanipho kaMveli, which is God's love, light, and wisdom. I try to stay away from the titles.
Yes.
Because in essence, that's not really who I am.
Yes.
That is what I am. But if you were to ask what I am, I'm a mother, a wife, I'm a businesswoman, and I'm now recently author, I'm an actress. I'm battling a little bit with the author title because
Is it?
Yeah, I am because I didn't dream of being a writer.
Yeah.
It's not I can call myself an actress because it's something that I'd always wanted to do.
Yes,
But I never thought that 2 years ago I didn't think I'd be writing a book.
Yes, yeah.
But the conversations that were happening at the time led me to this place where I've now written a book.
Yeah.
And it was a divine instruction as far as I was concerned, which is why I was able to produce the book in the time that I did and be able to cover the topics that I was able to cover so eloquently. And I think, in the beginning it was a bit scary because I thought, like, what is this now? How do I write a book? I'm not a writer, I'm not an author, I'm not even writing scripts. I just write captions. And everybody goes crazy, but a caption and a book are two different things. A caption is a paragraph. A book is, but it's I don't want to say weird because it's not weird, it's divine.
Yes.
The way that it kind of all came together.
Yeah. And now that you see that, right? And we'll show the book, before we close out because it's this thick, right? If not this thick. So there was so much that you had to give birth to, right? There was, and whenever I see someone who is so connected to their center when they write that book, and I told you I haven't read the book, and you and I will talk about the book later in our next feature. I always say that something was writing the book in you. It could not have been you, especially with the depthness of those conversations that you went into. Who wrote that book, or what wrote the book?
Mbeli Mkhange wrote the book. The very essence of the divine feminine wrote that book. It wasn't me. And I say this confidently because there were things I was able to explain in the book that I didn't know came from where, and then I sit and I think, like, how did I know this? There were times when I'd wake up in the middle of the night and write because a thought would come and then it would develop into an internal conversation, and then God would say, okay, write this. There was a time when I thought I was finished with the book, and Mbeli said, go and write Inkondlo. For Inkondlo being a poem, like, the Still Arise kind of type poem for women. And God said, I want that in the book. But also the words were given to me. And I think that was what I had struggled with. It's easier to write a bio because initially people look at books written by people who are in the public eye
Mm.
as bios, celebrity books.
Yes.
And I try to explain to people that you won't even find my date of birth in the book. You won't find at which year I went to which school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find some.
Yeah.
But it's a collection of stories and a journey of of my life
Yeah.
that I use to highlight social ills, inequality. Like I said, the cultural indoctrination, the stereotypes around religion, and all these narratives that we carry. So every story in the book, and you'll also see that it's not necessarily chronological.
Yes.
It does fall into place, but it's
Yeah.
not necessarily chronological.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't telling a story. Yeah, I was born on this day, and
And
I
this
was just born
happened,
on this
and
and this happened.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
not what I was trying to tell. I was trying to highlight societal issues that we deal with as well.
Yes, and that we deal with as women specifically, because somehow when things are wrong, it's almost as if women must step in and pick this baby up and sort the baby out. But then there's sort of a collectiveness where men are also somewhere in the midst, and you're like, okay, so why is this part of me, right? I always say that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, right? And as human beings, as spiritual beings having human experience, why would you want this thing, this magnificent manifestation of the universe, to conform or to fit in any box? And you're saying it so well when you started in your talk that one of the questions that you had to God directly was that, do you manifest differently in man and in female? Do you come to females as weak and you go to men as strong and dominant, right? And for me, it's those conversations that I have around spirituality, because I'm thinking that if I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, therefore conformity should not even be part of this journey that I'm on.
And like I say, you're spot on, because there's over 7 billion people in the world. I'm not sure how we're all supposed to be the same. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There's over 3 billion females in the world. I'm not sure how we're all supposed to be the same kind of wife, the same kind of I just don't get it. So the conformity conversation is a big conversation, because anything that doesn't conform then becomes rebellious. Is rebellious. And I think that's where people find discomfort, because it's like, well, if I don't fit in, then I won't have anywhere else to belong, right? So it's an important conversation.
And you get rejected by the very family that's supposed to give you the comfort and the strength. So you are rebellious, you get ridiculed on, and everybody's lashing at you, and then there's this thing called black sheep of the family, and how important is it for us to know who we are, so that when people are calling us all these names, we begin to say, no, you're calling me that because you don't understand my journey. How important is it for us to know us?
Today, I don't even think it's about us having to even explain that it's because you don't understand my journey, as much as it is important to educate and make people aware of history. Because I think that our ignorance has closed the historical door. Understanding actually who we truly are. If you were to sit and really understand Ubuntu and African history, you would be blown away by who we really actually are. So even as we talk about, I'm looking at your hair, and I'm thinking your hair is beautiful. You've got natural hair. I've got natural hair.
Thank you.
And even as we talk about the hair conversation, for instance, is a huge part of our identity, right? Instead of saying this is better, the natural hair is better than me because it's better because it means that I love myself more, or identify with my Africanism more than you do if you're wearing it. Instead of having that conversation, because that's a judgmental conversation, the conversation we should be having is, did you know that actually your hair spiritually is an antenna to the universe. That is why in Zulu City, when you enter a room and your spirit is discerning, there's bad energy, good energy. When there's bad energy, your hair stand up, or when there's good energy, because the saying your hair stands up actually comes from that, because your hair is an antenna. And as African people, we actually didn't cut our hair.
Yes.
We didn't cut our hair because we understood the spiritual connection between hair and the universe. We walked barefoot because we understood the spiritual connection between the soil and body, right? So for me, it's more the education around who we are and where we come from, as opposed to, because anything else just looks or sounds judgmental. And people will always have a negative reaction to
that. And it's sounding also as someone having to justify themselves, right? And to belong to something, whatever it is that thing is that we need to belong into. And for me, I end up, whether women or men, I just feel like we're stepping into this new vibrations, right? And in that vibration, there's just no control of where we're going into. And so because there's no control, everyone is just rambling around and then rambling around and rambling around. And then when we're asking the question of who I am or who are you, we're talking about the functional roles. It's nothing but a manifestation, right? And I sometimes feel like, and I don't know if there's a process in this whole thing or not, where we sort of step back and say, let's connect to the center. Because if you are connected to the center and I'm connected to the center, then we are connected to the strength of who we are.
So what has been important for me to understand as I journeyed is that we have to meet people where they are. Because if you force a different thought, they'll reject it because they don't understand it. Not because they're not willing to listen, because they don't understand it. You have to meet people where they are. I never used to understand church people who would want to preach Jesus to a homeless man who's hungry.
My point of need right now is bread. Your Jesus is not giving me bread right now.
So much brokenness in the world that even with who I'm becoming, there were things that I had to hold back, where I would write something and God would say, no, don't put that, they won't understand that. Okay. So the Msamo conversation is not in this book, but it's in the next book, because it was important to understand the level of brokenness we are at, and to say, okay, first step is that we have to acknowledge that there's some brokenness.
Okay.
And what is causing the brokenness.
Yes.
If I'm going to walk the walk, finding my true self, what does that mean? But I have to acknowledge first. And I can't have the conversation about identity and my spirituality when I haven't had the conversation about just the normal things that I see, that are, because once you've made sense of that, then we can talk about spirituality, which is why my talks always go deeper in the spirituality as opposed to what the book explains. The book really tries to zoom in on the societal stuff, right? But it is laying the foundation for a deeper conversation.
So you see that as dealing. So if you were to talk to the Maslow hierarchy of need, the basic need of survival and safety, you see those as the fundamental topics to talk about before we go into the conversation of actualization. But those who are actualizing and have actualized, how do they connect to the people who are at the level of basic survival need, who may, rightfully so, not know what you're talking about, about the central or the core? How do we meet that so that I meet you where you are and then you meet me where I am?
I become human. That's what we are, right? So there's the element here, your spirituality, and there's the human. There's the human who's having the experience. The fact that you've actualized means that you actually have a deep understanding of the issues of that one doesn't, because you have walked the journey. So this is again the same thing with people who are too spiritual, like even church spiritual, is that now yonke into just becomes a come to the cross of the like, I don't know what they say, but then
there's a
vibrator le,
Yeah,
right? The vibration is so high that you are not connecting to.
I can't even hear
But the
you.
thing is,
Yeah.
we've all been through this journey. Why are we behaving like we're not? So for me, what it tells me, or what I then suspect, is that this actualization is not genuine. Because somebody who's self-actualized to a place of fullness and completeness will be able to understand where this person is.
What you're saying is so profound, and you're putting it so simple, right? Because if you have actualized, and at the meaning that you have, I don't know if you can get to the point where the ego does no longer exist within you, and you should be able to understand all of the path and all of the layers. But at the point where you do not, or you claim to not, then it means you have not transcended or actualized into anything.
I would think that.
Yeah.
I would think that.
So, what are we here for as humanity on this universe?
Oh, it's each to their own, eh? Such a difficult question.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult question because I think I think what the answer is not the same for everyone.
Yeah.
The answer is different for everyone because we're all unique beings and different beings, right? But what I do know about our reason for existence or purpose is that it is intertwined.
Yeah.
There are people whose purpose is dependent on you fulfilling your purpose. There are people who are looking to you to make them understand their purpose. What I know about purpose is that it is intertwined. I think we complicate.
Have you commercialized it? Have you commercialized the term purpose?
I think we complicate it. It's like you're not self-love, the commercializing self-love, as if it's like self-love is just being kind to yourself.
And self-love meaning these days going to spa.
Yeah,
Self-spa has, self-love has meant.
Right? So I think you're right. It's like Ubuntu, how we talk about Ubuntu and how we've commercialized Ubuntu, and actually these are things that are embedded in us. I think when we talk about the journey of why, or if I'm to respond to why we're in existence, I think it is embedded in us. We'll never really know until we get to know our true selves, right? Because the purpose can't manifest if the identity is not realized.
Yes, exactly.
But I think it's an individual journey. It's an individual journey, and who's to say what you think is your purpose is not? Who's to say that? So I do think it's very much an individual journey, an individual thing. I can't say, I really can't. Collectively as humanity, why we're here, I don't know. I know we're passing through. I know that Velima gave us, embedded in us, the capability, the capacity, the values, and everything that we need to exist. And what we have done, what the world has done, is buried, all of that. And I wish we could just go back to our original state. That's why when I spoke about the church thing, for me, my biggest argument had always been, can I just go back to knowing God when we were created? I don't want to know God through some pastor, some I don't want the filters.
That middle person in between, because you are an extension of creation. You are the source, right? And so if you are the source, you should have the same conversation, the same pipeline. There's a pipeline that the pastor or whoever has, right? I also think that something that has been commercialized, and when something is commercialized, there's financial meaning, and so there'll always be that. That's just my view. I don't. It's not something that I've researched. It's something that I've known. You and I can talk for hours, right? This is a conversation. This is an hour conversation.
This is a day conversation.
This is a day conversation where we go deeper into this. But what I like is whatever it is that we've spoken about or that we've touched to today is what had to be touched on today, right? And it will make sense when it has to make sense at some point.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, what do you wish for?
Honestly, for long life. I have young kids. I wish to see their children and their grandchildren. Because they are my extension, and I have a responsibility to make sure that they self-actualize. And I want to be around for that. So my honest wish is
we wish you long life and more purpose and more actualization. As we wrap up, 5 questions, no blinking, go in and answer them as much as you can. Okay?
Okay, cool.
Love is?
God.
Light is?
Oh, the heart.
The heart. And laughter is?
Medicine.
And fear is?
Wow. Fear is an illusion.
It's an illusion. And you are?
Like I said, I'm Belimang is light, love, and wisdom.
Well, thank you for being here on this interactive stage. And how do people get hold of you?
I'm on Instagram at Ayanda Baroto and on Facebook at Ayanda Baroto.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you have it. And we wish you more. And I know I'm getting to 92. That's my target. Healthy and active.
Yeah.
You and I will be on that stage.
Yeah, no, yeah. We'll be on that stage together at 92.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Angisafuna ukuphila ngale ndlela ade siphila ngayo. Ngifuna ukuyimela. Ngifuna ukuba yimina ngikhululeke. Ngifuna wami umuzi. Ngifuna indlu ezoba yikhaya lezingane zami.